Hi, this is Betty Plus Books. So at the end of October, I did Tome Topple. Tome Topple was a readathon going from the 18th to the 31st of October. And my plans for this were detailed in a previous video, but basically I wanted to read 3 books. I wanted to read The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, which is the 3rd book in the Poppy War series. I wanted to read the 3rd book in the 3-Body Problem trilogy, which was Death's End by Cixin Liu. And then I wanted to read The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, which is the 1st book in the First Law trilogy. So let's get on to the vlog and let's see how that went.
Hello, it's Monday the 18th, so the first morning of Tome Topple, and honestly I'm not really feeling it too much this morning. I did start my first book for Tome Topple last night after midnight, so that's The Burning God, and I think between the start to that just not being that interesting and just having a lot I have to do today, I'm already feeling the time crunch. I have to read about 140 pages a day to get done with the 3 books that I want to read, so right now I'm not feeling that optimistic, but I read about 50 pages last night, and so we'll see if I can get through 50 this morning and maybe 50 this evening to stay on track. So I'm having some indecision about my book choices because while I've got 3 on my Tome Topple TBR, I also got this from the library about a couple weeks ago. I need to either finish this by the end of October or accept that I'm not going to get to it until the next time I can check it out as a hold. I don't want to buy it yet because all the rest of my October day books are in paperback and I hate it when they don't match. So I want to wait for the paperback to come out, but if I don't read it during Tome Topple, I'm not going to be able to read it for a while because the wait list is kind of long, so I don't know what to do. Should I read this? Should I not? I'll have to decide. I was really tempted to pick it up and start, but I'm like, what is the harm in not reading it yet? So I'm still trying to decide. But I've also gotten about 100 pages into The Burning God, and it has gotten better from the first couple of chapters. The first couple of chapters were kind of but it's picking up. I'm debating whether to just read that straight through or to switch back and forth between that and Death's End. I usually like to have like one ebook and one physical book going at a time, as well as one audiobook. Unfortunately, none of my Tome Topple books are available for audiobook for like 10 weeks or something like that. So until way after Tome Topple's over. So I'm not going to be listening to any of my Tome Topple books. I'm actually listening to The Last Graduate as like what I'm listening to right now. But I kind of like having the switch back and forth, but they're both so hefty that I'm not sure I want to read those 2 books at the same time. I also usually am reading like a lighter book and a heavier book at the same time. So I'm not sure. I think I'll just keep reading The Burning God, and if I feel pulled to pick up Death's End, I'll do that when I feel like it. Ugh, I'm a greasy mess today. I realized that I deleted my first video that I was going to put in my blog for Tome Topple. I didn't read as much as I wanted to yesterday. I read about 60 pages, I want to say, out of the 100 that is my goal. So I'm a little bit behind now, but I read like 120 pages on the first day. So I am currently 20 pages behind, so to keep up today, Wednesday, I have to read 120 pages, which I know I can do because I did it on Monday, but today I feel busy because I didn't edit my Wednesday video last night, and so I have to do it this morning. I'm not feeling great today. If I feel sufficiently bad, that's a good excuse to sit in bed and just read once I get done with my work. So, oh well. Hot chocolate will make me feel better. So I did start catching up a little bit on my reading goal today. I went to the doctor's and had to have a yearly allergy check-in. Turns out I can stop getting my shots fairly soon, yay. But I was able to read about 50 pages there, so I think by the end of the day I could probably get caught up to one day behind where my reading goal is supposed to be at this point. I should be about 80% of the way through The Burning God by the end of the day, but I'm only through about 45% right now, and I think I can get to 60% if I push a little bit. But so far it's just not as good as the first 2 books were, or at least it seems a little bit more like a typical war story without much other than war going on, and that's just not the kind of book I like. So I'm having a little more trouble getting through it, but I do think I'm going to finish it and figure out how the series ends. I'm seriously considering getting more credits on Audible or buying the audiobook of Death's End so that I can get through more of this challenge a little faster, or maybe getting the audiobook of The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, because I'm almost done with The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik on audiobook, and if I could get an audiobook that was one of the tomes that I wanted to read, that would be really helpful for finishing out everything I wanted to do this challenge. So it's 10:40 on April 23rd, which I thought was 8:40 Eastern Time, but I got that backwards. It's actually 12:40 Eastern Time now. So it's the starting day of Dewey's 24-hour readathon, and I am not at all in a mood or a position to read right now. I have a D&D campaign to prepare for, I have a bunch of errands to run, and I don't know how I'm going to participate at all in this in any kind of reasonable way unless I don't plan for my D&D campaign. I don't run any but like the one critical errand I have to run. I don't eat, and I just like sit in my room all day pretending that I'm preparing for the campaign and actually reading. So I think in order to participate in this at all, I need to go get an audiobook and listen to that while I'm doing stuff today, because I absolutely do not feel like I have the time to sit down and read. And if I try and both read a lot today and try and get everything done, I'm just going to have some kind of meltdown. I don't love owning the digital copies of things because, like, to me, part of the appeal of owning it is having it actually on my physical shelf, not necessarily to go back and reread, because it's not like I go back and reread it more than the library would have it available in that case. Just in the case of the few books that I want to read right now, the wait times are too long, which I mentioned like several times. Okay, great. We have done the thing. We did the thing that was taking far too long to decide on, and so now I have the book. So I'm going to start that right away so that I'm not a hypocrite with regards to my how I buy books declaration. And it is correct that I want to read it right away. I want to read it for a challenge, and the library did not have it available, at least not in the format that I wanted to read. So I'm going to start that now. I'm kind of excited. I'm worried that I made a mistake not because I bought the wrong thing, but because I started listening to this, and it seems like the narrator is like hi kitten. It seems like the narrator is kind of a stuffy old British guy, and that is the kind of audiobook narrator that often makes me kind of fall asleep a little bit. So I probably should have seen if there was a sample or something before I bought it, which I've done for other books that, like, I just decided I wasn't going to buy on Audible. Kitten, don't eat the phone. But I didn't think to do for this one because I was so insistent on getting the book specifically to do this reading challenge, and now I'm like, I just hope I get used to it. I'll probably get used to it, right? So I have good news and I have bad news. I did manage to get through 5 hours of The Blade itself, and as I listened, the narrator actually started to become more engaging to me. I think just sometimes there are certain voices on audiobook that aren't necessarily bad, but I have to get used to listening and paying attention to them. I think his voice just kind of like fades in the background for me initially, but I think this will be really good because I think this person, I don't remember his name, actually narrates a lot of audiobooks. And so this will, if I can get used to his voice just by like kind of forcing myself to do it because I bought this audiobook on a whim, I'll be able to listen to a lot more books that are freely available at my library, and just in general be able to listen to more audiobooks that are narrated by this person without worrying that I'll miss everything. So far it's really good. I think I'm about a quarter of the way through the book. The bad news is that is the only reading that I did yesterday. 5 hours of an audiobook isn't great when you consider that I've done more than that in like a random day, just running errands when it hasn't been a readathon. So that kind of stinks. I feel like I kind of failed at Dewey's 24-hour readathon, but I succeeded at starting a book that I've been wanting to get to, and I'm enjoying it. So that's kind of the point. I will definitely be able to finish The Burning God before the end of the readathon. I have gotten only more behind as I've gone on, but I'll at least be able to finish that one. If my general pace of normal audiobook listening is any indication, I will probably also finish the first law. And the question is whether or not I end up finishing or even starting Death's End before the end of the readathon. I'll have gotten through at least 2 pretty chunky books. And that's why I do Tome Topple, is just to tackle the books that are so big that they can be intimidating until you have a reason to get to those in particular. Hello, it is October 26th. I've been doing great on reading The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, and I've been doing absolute crap on reading The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I do think that book's just not for me in the way the other ones were, and I feel like I'm close to done. I'm somewhere between 60 and 80% done. I'm just really disappointed because I feel like this is going to be a 3-star read for me instead of the expected 5-star read. I can see that they're doing a lot with Rin's progression on being like more and more imbued in war and this lifestyle almost of like brutality, and I think that that's really well done. I'm just not enjoying it because it just feels like it's all war, it's trudging through the woods, it's fighting people, it's blowing people up, and I get really bored in books where it's like they spend a long time walking from one place to another, even if they're like dealing with a bunch of challenges along the way. But I had the same thing when like I tried to read The Hobbit, as I'm just like, how many pages do we have to spend climbing up this darn mountain and describing the rocks? I just want like point A, point B, and like maybe one fight or stop or campfire in between. I don't need a page for every mile you traveled along this route describing the route. Thank you. Anyway, I'm going to have some breakfast. I have an apple because I'm lazy, and then I might have some yogurt because I'm more lazy, and I don't want to cook anything. I actually like cooking, so I've just been in a slump with everything lately. I don't want to read, I don't want to cook. I just want to nap and make YouTube videos, which that later one is not necessarily a bad thing. Hello, it is Wednesday, October 27th, and I realized that I had not touched the book The Burning God since last Thursday, and so it's been a week since I've even read any books with like words on a page rather than audio. And if I had just read 30 pages a day of that, which is very low compared to my goal, I would be done with the book by now. So I think today I have some time. My next video is not going to need to be done until tomorrow sometime. I'm just gonna sit down, I'm gonna read as much of The Burning God as I can, and I might be able to finish it today, and then I can just move on to Death's End and at least get that started before Tome Topple is over. So I'm at 64%, which is 26% left, which according to my calculator is 224 pages remaining. So I can get through that much in a day, I think. Okay, so it's been about an hour. I think I now have 25% left. So if it's about 600 pages, that should be about 150 pages left. So I think I'm doing well so far. I'm going to feed the kittens and then I'm going to feed myself. I also forgot to mention that the book is actually, I think, improving in its pacing. Too bad it took until like 70% to get there, but they did a few things that reminded me a lot of the original like School of Magic type things, so that's gotten me like reinvested. So I think that's also helping me decide, yes, I'm gonna finish this out today. So that'll give me Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to work on Death's End, which means I can get most of the way through it if I hit my like 100 pages a day requirement, and if I decide to be an overachiever and read like 150 pages a day, then I can actually finish that before the end of Tome Topple, which would be really great to just have that done and off my TBR and stopping intimidating me. I relocated to a different spot with Kitten, who is continuing to be clean today. And we're just gonna sit down, chill out, and see if we can finish this book.
We finished The Burning God. It was actually pretty good in the second half, so I think overall I'm probably going to rate it a 4 out of 5 stars because the first half was kind of like a 3 out of 5, the second half was like a 5 out of 5, so it averages to 4 out of 5. So I think I got that done earlier than I expected to, so we are going to go get the next book now. We're going to go get Death's End off of my shelf. I am ready to start you book.
I've been trying to read Death's End, but I'm having trouble focusing. I think part of it is that it starts off in a much different place than I expected based on the ending of the previous book. And also I've just been reading for like 3 hours already today, and my brain wants to go and play on the internet. Also, I stopped filming myself reading, and so now I have access to my phone, and so that makes me a lot more likely to just go on YouTube and watch other people's videos rather than reading anything. I kind of, when I started the day, it felt like today was going to be a replacement for Dewey's 24-hour readathon, since I didn't really do that. But now I just don't want to read right now. I'm just having a lot of trouble focusing, so we might come back to it later today. When I started today, I hadn't planned to read Death's End at all. I just planned to start it tomorrow. So if I only get through the 5 pages I got through today, that's fine. The other thing that's kind of nice is that, like, the actual text for Death's End starts on page, like, 15 or something like that. So even though I've only read 5 pages, I'm, like, on page 20 already, which makes all of my stats happy.
So that's all for this vlog. As you can tell, I did end up finishing The Burning God and The Blade itself in Tome Topple, and I'm really glad I got through those 2 books, especially The Burning God. I do think that the payoff was worth it at the end, and I'm glad that I got to it fairly quickly after reading The Dragon Republic. I'm a little disappointed that at this moment it doesn't seem like Death's End is really a book I want to read right now, but we'll feel it out in the next couple of months, and I'll go and I'll try it again and see if I'm more in the mood for it in the future. The other thing that's kind of holding me back, other than like that little trigger that's kind of like just makes me not want to read a book when it's present, is just one of my friends who has recently finished it just said it got really weird and didn't really have anything positive to say about it. So I'm debating whether or not I actually want to go and finish this, but we'll see. If I decide not to, no harm, no foul. If you have read Death's End before and you thought it was worth it, please let me know in the comments so that I know that I do want to get to it sometime. Or if you just thought it was not worth it at all, also let me know that, because I don't want to waste my time on something that isn't going to be worth it in the end. Thank you so much for watching. This was my first vlog, so I hope that I put it together okay. I'm not really big on like talking for long periods of time while I'm in the midst of a book, so I don't know if it was actually long enough. I've seen some like really interesting blogs where people just talk about their experiences for like an hour, and I just feel like I'm hanging out with them and we're chilling and it's fun, but I don't know if I manage that. But I'll get more practice in the future, I'm sure, when I do more readathons. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy reading.